When it comes to SUVs, well, they suit so many applications. They're versatile, they're practical, and they're perfect for the family. The other thing is, there's so many varying sizes. So it makes perfect sense that Hyundai have released this, the new Bayon. I'm Ben Quirk, welcome to Planet Auto. Now this is a completely new model. For a start, it's built on the i20 platform, so you get the same powertrain options, meaning a 1 litre turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. You can get a 100 PS or a 120 PS. They're also all 48 volt mild hybrid, and that means you get great economy. This boasts around 50 to the gallon. As for gearboxes, you had I think it was an intelligent manual transmission, but now you can get a 7-speed DCT or a 6-speed manual. This is what you class as a crossover, so similar size to say an Arona. It's nimble, agile, and the thing that completely blows me away is the starting price. £20,530. That's not much more than an i20. And that's for an SE Connect. But don't let that fool you, it's still pretty well equipped. We have a premium, ours retails for around £24.5, but that includes our metallic paint. Or you could go all in and get an ultimate. Now that's singing and dancing. Saying that, the premium is pretty loaded. As for an N, well, not yet. You can get everything from a digital cluster through to LED headlamps. It's also got top level safety, and that's regardless of trim. Because it's a completely new model, well, it doesn't really follow typical Hyundai design language, to be honest, which is slightly unorthodox, but impressive nonetheless. It fuses new design language and, say, existing. For example, this with the daytime running lights, and it raises it up and makes it look far more futuristic. Classic design language, or the big mouth, the chunky grille. And then the further you move down, you can see like a traditional headlamp. It combines a rather aggressive and chunky bumper, semi-clamshell bonnet. You've got vents down here with beautiful curvature and chunky plastics. But that's what makes it rugged. Sadly, there is no all-wheel drive option. But you do have a decent ride height. And it is different to the i20, which is a good thing, especially as they're built on the same platform. They're always pushing the boundaries. I mean, just look at the new Tucson. In a word, it sets its own trend. Now, dependent on trim, depends on what features you get. For example, an SE Connect, you'll get traditional bulbage. On the Premium and Ultimate, you'll get LEDs. You also get high beam adjust, and they're automatic. Now the Bayon boasts rather impressive safety and convenience across the range. For example, even if you go for an SE Connect, you'll get parking sensors, AEB, bicycle, pedestrian and vehicle detection, and a rear view camera. And dependent on trim, you can get extras such as blind spot detection and something that detects vehicles coming up to you at a junction. I suppose it's a bit like cross-traffic monitoring. You had the option of 15-inch wheels, but now you can get 16s and 17s, and to be perfectly honest, I think 15s would look a little small. Ours are diamond cut, and we've got a decent profile tyre. I love these flared arches and the fact that you've got typical SUV styling. Cladding that runs all the way down the vehicle, and it's got a decent ride height, so that allows you to be, well, a little more adventurous. Chrome trim that runs around the window, and some black roof bars. So many vehicles just have a flow down here, so the shaping, this just gives it a bit of character. And in turn that will make it more efficient and decrease drag. Every trim gets power folding heated door mirrors, and it's a rather nice looking SUV. Let's take a look inside. Now I have noticed we've not got keyless entry. If you go for the Ultimate, you'll get that, plus keyless go, and the vehicle's just burst into life, even without the key in the ignition. Now the one thing you will notice, especially with a vehicle that starts at around 20 grand, hard plastics, but you do have a padded area. You also get mood lighting, and it illuminates places like this and this. Climbing in, absolutely no problem. No grab handles, sadly. Now the one thing you won't really find is soft touches. I mean, we've got, it's say a hard touch here, but it's got like weirdly a soft quality to it. I can certainly see the design influence from the i20, the shaping in the dash, the door cards, the position of the infotainment screen. The thing is, it works. At a glance I can see we've got a heated steering wheel and a full digital cluster, and that's across the full range too. And we can adjust the headlamp height. That means we can tow. Solid. But that's not surprising. Throughout we've got really good build quality. As I mentioned, hard plastics, but you do have some soft touches, the armrest in the middle, but that's not available on the SE Connect. But it gives you a really good driving position. Padded area here, and I've got a footrest on the left hand side. At 6'3", well, absolutely no problem. Now my seat is manual, but it does allow height adjustment. Well, immediately I can tell this is raised, so you've got a good view out the windscreen. But that makes perfect sense in an SUV. You can also get a grey trim, but I think it still has black seats. But to be honest, they look rather sporty. They're comfortable, they're supportive, and they've got an interesting pattern. You can see you've got plenty of legroom, and there's reach and rake adjustment in the steering wheel. The design language really appeals, and these are only 3 slat, so they won't really gather much dust. In the i20 I was rather impressed with the digital cluster, and it's nice to see it's transferred over to this. It's simple to read and it gives you all the information you need, including when you're coasting, so that means you're putting power back into your battery and making your vehicle more economical. You've got a rev counter, speedo, you can see your economy and other information, digital display, and you can get air conditioning on all models. But on the SE Connect it's manual. Great feeling switchgear, proper clunky buttons, and a rotary. Comes with satellite navigation dependent on which model you go for, and you get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. It's also got, I think it's some Google integration, so you can add things like calendars. It's rather clever when you look a little deeper into it. Decent feeling stalks and a leather wrapped steering wheel, and I can see we've got cruise control. Now as we've got the premium, we also get heated seats, and they're 3-stage. An old school handbrake, which I never expected, but something that's, well, one of my favourites, and driving modes. So eco, comfort and sport. 6-speed manual, but you can get a 7-speed DCT. And yes, that is a wireless charging pad. Lots of storage, cup holders, USB and 12 volt. Considering the price of this, you get way more than you'd actually expect. For example, an auto dimming mirror. You've also got start stop. Now we've got a metallic silver, and the Bayonne does boast a rather impressive palette. You can even get two-tone. Just take a look at our i20, and it's around £550. Now I do love the sloping roof and the way that the window's slim, but I've also noticed there's no panoramic. So it makes me wonder what the headroom's going to be like, and if it's going to be a little dark. Let's take a look in the back and find out. The door opens nice and wide. Like the front, hard plastics. Sadly, not even a padded armrest. As for legroom, considering this is set for me at 6'3", well, it's far more than I expected, especially in a vehicle of this size. Wow. And a plus for me, I can still see out of the window. So many vehicles, this dips down too far. Adjustable seatbelt, and above all, I have a grab handle and a rear light. Yeah, it's not the lightest in here. It is mitigated a little with the light headliner, but it would be nice to see a panoramic. And it does help having these little windows. The seats are comfortable, they're supportive. Considering it's a small SUV, the back isn't angled too upright, and it does feel like this is raised, so you've got a good view out the windscreen. Isofix points and airbags. I've got a door pocket, an electric window, USB here, and a storage point. And I think this is quite clever. And that's pretty much it. It does exactly what it says on the tin. Now to the rear. I do love these LEDs. Now if you go for an SE Connect, you'll get traditional bulbage. The combination of colours really works. Chunky rear bumper, especially with the width of the vehicle. Just look at this. High level brake light, housed in a rather sporty spoiler. It's such a clean look, especially with the tinted glass. Now you're thinking, this may make reversing a little bit of a challenge. Well, don't worry, you get a reversing camera and parking sensors on all the trims. That's something I didn't expect. Let's take a look in the boot. Decent size, quite easily get your week's shop in there. Now the fact that I'm 6'3" and can stand under it is something quite incredible, especially for a vehicle of this size. It looks bigger than other vehicles in this segment. And that's despite the mild hybrid system. A little bit of a boot lip, and yes, tethering hooks that are attached to the floor. Now with something like this, in my eyes it's better to have it mounted to the body because it just makes it a lot more solid. Saying that, we've got a decent strong floor. It's just a bit of string and you just hook it over. Simplicity. And one thing that I saw on the i20, and this has too, You just slide it down and it neatly stows there. Very clever. Let's drop the seats. You just literally pull this forward. Now they don't lay entirely flat, and there is a small gap here, but it seriously increases your space. Quite easily get a mountain bike in here. This is where you release the petrol cap. Easy to open. Just push this left. Nice and straightforward under the bonnet, and you can easily see where to top up your fluids. It's not the heaviest bonnet either. Perfect. Welcome behind the wheel of the all-new Hyundai Bayon. Under the bonnet we've got a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbocharged engine. It's also coupled to a mild hybrid system which is 48 volts. And we've got a 6-speed manual, but you can go for a 7-speed DCT. It's got a rather pleasing tone. That's the thing about 3 cylinders. They sound rather punchy. And they can pull. Predominantly a 3-cylinder can suffer from vibration. But this, and there's none of that. And yes, we do have driving modes. Economy, comfort, and... ooh look, national speed. Sport. And that makes this rather responsive. It also waitens up the steering a touch too. Considering it doesn't look too fast on paper, I think it's around 0 to 60 in 11 seconds. Going through the gears, well, that's a different matter. What you need to know is it's nice and easy to join, say, a motorway. You'll get up to speed far quicker than you'd anticipate. And the thing about a turbocharger and an electric motor is you've got power through the gears. So if you put your foot down in, say, third, it'll just pull. The powertrain like this, it's not quite the same as an electric vehicle, but you do notice a difference. It's far more agile and nimble than you give it credit for, considering its ride height. Because if there was an all-wheel drive, it'd be quite capable, to be honest, especially with economy. With this, I'm getting 47.8, and that's in sport mode pretty much all the time. When you go back into comfort, you do feel the steering lighten up. Speaking of steering, nice and direct, and it gives good feedback, and it does weighten up nicely. On, say, a back road, lovely box, smooth, fluid, no notchiness, a lovely little short shift 6-speeder. You'd think because of their height and their ride height that they'd be, what's the word, a little ungainly.
It's not wallowy at all though, is it?
Well, no, I was going to say there is a bit of body roll, but that comes with the territory of anything like this. But that just adds to comfort. Saying that, the suspension's good too. It's more bounce and bump, isn't it?
Definitely, and I can say to that, being in the passenger seat, coming back from Wetherby, we spent hours in this, didn't we? And we were fine.
We did, yeah.
A comfortable ride. It's a pleasant journey.
This is third gear at, let's go down to about 25. If you put your foot down, slight hesitance, but then the electric motor kicks in within, say, a second. There's very little wind noise, isn't there?
And the wind is picking up now because there's strong winds up the way.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't notice.
Same with tyre noise. Little bit on bad bits of road.
But that's more about the road, isn't it?
And we're running 17s. Because we've got the premium, you get LED lights. Yeah, decent throw, to be honest. It reminds me a bit of the Kona. It's just in a smaller package. That's the thing. You've now got 4 SUVs to choose from. Now Hyundai are making some damn good cars. And the brakes are rather impressive. Essentially it stops as well as it goes. The other thing is you will feel, well, I suppose it's a light regen, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's nice that you can see that information on your cluster as well. Add that to the fact that you've got a 5-year warranty, it's NCAT full, you get a lot of car for the money.
You've also got a substantial safety package, haven't you? And that's across the full range. So AEB, forward collision, I think it's mitigation, which you don't really see on cars of this price bracket.
Lane keep assist.
Yeah, road sign recognition. And if you go for, say, the premium or the ultimate, you can get blind spot detection and a couple of other features. In case you're not familiar with a mild hybrid, the way it works is you've got an electric motor and a small battery. And you can see when power's being pulled out and power's going back in. And essentially, that tops up your battery with, say, coasting. Just makes the vehicle more economical. considering it starts at around 20 grand, it's a damn good proposition. It drives well. It feels, what's the word, composed at all times. And it's engaging. It's everything I look for in a vehicle like this.